Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead of them and their companies. I'm your host, Olivia Sammons, and in each episode, we'll uncover the stories behind successful startups, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we're joined by Mike Ames, the founder and managing director of Flair Business Growth Consultancy, a firm dedicated to helping SME leaders scale sustainably while reducing funder dependency. Having built an exciting 2 recruitment ventures, including Crimson, sold in 2017, Mike brings a wealth of entrepreneurial experience. Mike, thank you so much for joining me and welcome to Founders Future.
You're very welcome, and thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
Right, lovely having you here. So I like to start with every guest at the beginning of their journey. So can you take us back to the beginning of your journey and then maybe what inspired you to start up your current company?
Sure thing, yeah. So I started my career in IT, really, and the only reason I mentioned that is that a training in IT, I think, is a perfect foundation for business. Perhaps I'll touch on that a little later, but the first, 8-9 years since I graduated were in IT, and then I went contracting, freelance, and the agent I worked for said to me, would you like to come and work with me as a recruiter? And I just fancied a change, quite frankly. So I went to work for him in 1988. And then 6 months later, we set our own business up because we thought, like most people, I think, how hard can it be? We can do this. If only I'd known then what I know now. Wow, that would have been a real journey. But we set up and we got cracking. And then about 18 months later, he was killed in a car accident, which was hideous. And I was forced to take over the business. I had no clue what I was doing. Literally, some nights I'd drive home from work in tears because I just didn't know what I was doing, massively out of my depth. But because of the goodwill that he generated, he was a really nice guy and very good at what he did. That carried us through. People cut us some slack, really, because of him. And just enough time for me to learn really what you needed to do to grow a business. And that was okay for a couple of years. And then we reached a stage where, whereas I had built a business around me, what I should have done was built a business that didn't need me. And the relevance of that is it wasn't scalable, because I'm not scalable. There's only one of me. So we hired a consultant, her name was Anne-Marie, and she changed our business and she taught me how to create a scalable business. So basically the first 5 years of that business, we went from 0 to £5 million turnover. The second 5 years, we went from 5 million to 40 million turnover because of her and because of what she did. We sold that to an American firm in 1998, and then 2 years later set up the second business, which is Crimson, the one that you mentioned. I stayed there for about 10 years and then just became a sleeping partner and went to start to do the work I'm doing now, really, to begin with just as a hobby. But it's turned into a family firm now. My daughter and my eldest son work in the firm. There's 6 of us in the firm. And we just focus, as you quite rightly said, on business growth. We're all about creating high profit, high value businesses for our clients. So that's my story in about 30 seconds.
But I know you did it well. It was very much in a nutshell, and the important parts I think were covered. So all about scaling, all about business. How is it working, coming from working with partners into now maybe spending a little bit more time and working with family? Have you found that's been a big shift as you go through?
Yeah, that's interesting, really, because I had 2 partners in the first business. One was unfortunately killed, and the other one I'd known for a long time. He'd been a friend before we were business partners, and we got on because when Mike died, we had clear demarcation. I was in charge of sales and the staff. He did back office, so he was like the MD of back office. I never told him what to do or questioned him or anything. And I was like the MD of sales and growth, and he did the same for me, and that worked really well. The second business, the 2 partners that I worked for me in the first business, they'd been divisional managers. And that was a little difficult because they wanted me to be the MD, and I didn't want to be the MD. I'd done that, comes with a lot of strings attached. I didn't want that, and my wife certainly didn't want that at all. So we had a little kind of adjustment, and the reason I left was that they saw the world differently to me, and I think it was the right thing to do for me to leave. I kept my shares and everything, but I left, and that was difficult for a while. But we're all mates again now. I was skiing with one of the partners that I had
Nice.
the biggest disagreement with, but great guys, and they did a fantastic job. They took it up to about 24 million turnover business, and it was very profitable. So they did a really good job, not knocking them at all.
Amazing. And now let's dive into the current business model with Flair.
Yeah.
So what does that look like? Who would you say would be your ideal customer? And then from there, what is the core offer and how do you work with
Okay,
them?
the ideal customer is either any size search business, any size search consultancy. And for the recruiters, they're all white collar. We don't deal with high street. And we have two types. We have startup 2 years in. So they're successful, but they want to grow. They don't realize how to grow. Or larger businesses that want to get ready for real scale. So there's two
Amazing.
different, both white collar, but they're two different sizes. So basically, 0 to 10 employees, and then 10 and above. We split that down into two. And our job is simple, is to make them scalable, because the big myth about business growth is that all you need to do is hire more people, win more clients, make more revenue, repeat. And that just isn't true. You can't make a butterfly by making a caterpillar fatter. There comes a point when you need to change it, to transition it. And if you don't transition it, what will happen is you outgrow your strength and you collapse in on yourself and you become what's called a yo-yo company. Your revenues grow and they shrink and they grow and they shrink. So what we do is that transition for those companies to get them. T1 is when you take on the first couple of staff, and T2 is when you reach about 10 people. And we help them do that.
Amazing. And how does that work when you work with them? Are you going into the companies and taking over and showing them how to do it? Or is it more of a step back, we're going to teach you and then
At the heart of what we do, we have a portal where we have about 70 hours of video content and copious notes and checklists and examples and templates that people can access. So when we work with people, the idea is that when we have our time together, our call or our calls, we can talk about what needs to be done and we can hold people accountable and so on. But the actual understanding of what to do is done in their own time.
yeah.
So it's very efficient. And also, we make it available to all the staff. It's a complimentary service. So if they want to change, oh, I don't know, how the business development works, then everybody in the BT team can watch all the videos over and over again. And then when they come to us, they're coming to us with things that don't work very well or things they didn't understand very well. It's a very much more efficient way to coach people, because otherwise you're burning time, which is expensive. Obviously, you're paying for this. So it's expensive and you're burning time telling people things that actually they'd be better off learning
Yeah.
offline. And that's the big differentiator, I think, for us, because not many people can do that, I think.
Yeah, I agreed. The time consuming sense of learning, and I suppose everyone learns in a different way as well. So if you're trying to reach the masses and necessarily coach people that you're not familiar with, the online route has definitely been more success than I would say. So
Yeah, that's true. That's why you can listen to it. You can listen. You don't have to watch the videos. You can listen to them. Most of them are okay in an audible kind of channel. You can watch them, or we have loads of notes produced by AI, obviously, from the videos. But if you're the kind of person that likes to read stuff, you can read stuff if you want. So it's very true. I'll tell you the other interesting thing as well, actually. Something that we learnt a bit late in the game, actually. We thought people really wanted to know how to do things. So we teach you how to do this thing. But what they actually wanted was the thing done for them. So increasingly, we produce stuff that people could download, which would be about 80% of what they needed. And then the videos show them how to fill in the other 20%. So, for
gotcha.
example, I don't know whether you're familiar with a thing called a two-dimensional pitching deck, a 2D pitching deck, right? It's a relatively modern way to convey to people what you do and how you do it and why people use you, right? And we used to teach people how to build these from scratch, but they didn't want that. So now we have a template and we teach people how to fill in the template. That's much better because it's the structures there, it's 80%, 90% there, there's to fill in the gaps. And then we can help them just to refine that. And that's much more effective. That's what people really want, I think.
Amazing. Probably so, as you say. I feel like with maybe the implementation or the invention of AI, it's definitely encouraging people to have things that are done for them and then we just finish it off, if that makes sense.
Yeah, AI is a marvelous thing, really. I think it is going to wipe out, I think, huge swathes of people's jobs. They say, oh no, it won't do that. I think it will in time, not now, but it will eventually. But if you use a computer or you use a telephone, you're in trouble. But I think between now and when that happens, whenever that might be, it's a really super tool. The other day I recorded a discovery session on Teams, put the transcript into Copilot and said, could you just produce a pitch for me based on what they said? So it wrote a pitch that I tweaked it a little bit here and there, but pretty much used what it did. Within 24 hours, I'd won the deal. So you think, crikey, that's not bad, is it really? That's pretty good.
Think of all
So
the time
I
around
think you're
it.
right. I think it's very good. Do you know an interesting thing as well, though? I think people are going to use it where they shouldn't use it
That's
because
cool.
because particularly with automation, there's a lot of automation out there now, especially with business development. But what that's doing is creating a lot of noise that's
Yeah.
okay, but it really isn't that good, really. And I think the way to be successful will be to go in the opposite direction, to become more personal. Instead of going volume, reduce the volume significantly, but be very much more bespoke in your approach. And I think that's going to be much more successful. And we're working on some projects now, some research and development projects to prove that, which we'll then put onto the portal, and obviously people can use them when it's done.
Amazing. I do want to talk to you about your vision and any goals or targets that you
Sure.
have for the next 12 months. So, what are you working on that you're open to sharing? And is there anything exciting coming up?
Mostly, we're working on business development and marketing techniques because they don't stand still. They change all the time, not just because of AI, but because the way in which people want to be communicated with. For example, some years ago, it was all about podcasts. It's all about
Yeah.
podcasts. Get a podcast. We've
I
all
was,
moved on from that now. We have a podcast, you have a podcast, it's great, but from a business development point of view, it's not very effective, really. So now it's about live streams, LinkedIn Live, YouTube live streams, and webinars as sales tools, not marketing tools, but sales tools. So we're doing a lot of development around that. And there's going to be a new module put onto the portal soon to teach people how to use a webinar as a proper sales tool, how to connect with people and then build relationships after the webinar itself to reach the point of sale. The other area that we're looking into an awful lot is this concept of taking a discovery transcript of a discovery call that you've done with a potential client and using that to develop really clever and very pertinent proposals that are going to hit the mark. When they read it, wow, yeah, that's really nailed it for me. Whereas people aren't that good at it. The machines seem to be very good at it. So that's another area that we're putting a lot of effort into. And the last thing as well, just very quickly, is that in our industry, business development translates into vacancy scraping, looking for a vacancy. But that's not
yeah.
how you build an empire. And I learnt this from Anne Marie back in the 90s. She said, target high value clients because then the vacancies will come. And this applies to any industry, really. If you target the client, and then when you've got the trust and confidence of the client, the work will come. It's called strategic BD, is the name of it. It used to be called relationship selling back in the day. And again, the big challenge is having that very first conversation because
Yeah.
everybody's got gatekeepers. I'm told that the next version of Apple OS, there's going to be an app which will answer the phone for you. And
Yeah, they released it at the press conference the other day. It will be
yeah,
call it's call screening, so it will
yeah,
actually
that's right. That's going to become more sophisticated, like massively so. This is
yeah.
the thin end of a very thick wedge. So traditional cold calling, you're not really going to get very far with that. You have to make it so that somebody wants to speak with you. So we're doing a lot of research and development around that at the moment. How can we make that happen? And I'll
Yeah.
tell you how. I'll tell you how, or the what, and not so much the how, because it's a bit more complex. But it's really about content. And I'll be very clear what I mean on that, because I made a mistake with this recently. Content is anything at all, any piece of information that your target market finds interesting, useful, or thought provoking, delivered in a channel that they prefer. That's what content is. So it could be written, it could be video, it could be an event, whatever. But if you produce the right content, if it resonates, people will start a conversation with you, and then you can flip the conversation to gradually become a sales conversation. I think that's the way that we'll be winning high value clients as we move forward.
Nice. No, 100%. It's, as you mentioned before as well, it's knowing who you're trying to contact, knowing what they want from out of it, and making sure you get your message across. The personal branding on the back of it is also very important.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. The problem is personal brand. I think people equate that to LinkedIn, and
Um,
it's so much more than that. That's a little bit of it, but it's so
yeah,
much more than that.
definitely. So,
But you're right, it's very powerful.
also on the back of it, as I've said, that when it comes to the sell side, you want to, there's a line you don't want to cross where it's they're not buying you, and they make sure they're not buying you, but they're buying the product. And that's also the difference between the channels and methods as well.
I think it is. Yeah. The thing, if you look at the data, if you're trying to sell anything to a room full of 100 people, only 5% of those people are looking to buy right now.
Yeah,
Right? They're looking to buy. About 45% aren't looking to buy right now, but probably will be within the next period of time, whatever that means for your sales cycle. So, what transactional salespeople tend to do is if you're not ready to buy now, I'm moving on because they get paid on commission at the end of the month. I need someone to buy. So, if you're not ready, I'm moving on, which creates this big, what we call the forgotten 45%. These people that, if you were to cultivate them over time, will buy from you. They just won't buy now. And
yeah,
I think that if you're too transactional in the way in which you sell, there's 9 times the revenue that you can get right now available to you, provided you have some mechanism to cultivate prospects until they're ready to buy from you.
100%. Lead nurturing, follow-ups, you'll get right.
Relationship building, yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's relationship building in the old ways, really.
Yeah, it's
Building
the
trust and rapport and confidence and affinity.
exactly.
It's human beings, really, and that's the thing that makes the big money. And so that's the change that we made in the mid 90s that turned us from a 5 million to a 40 million quid in 5 years, was that we switched across to relationship selling. The way in which we won clients and then the way in which we look after clients as well
Yeah,
changed completely.
yeah, I can imagine. So I say the online world is growing in that sense, and it just needs to make sure that the relationship is still coming across with the message as well.
Yeah, it is. It's great. I wrote a post yesterday on LinkedIn, and I went to pick my grandsons up from school. They live in Warrington, which is even further north than we are, right? So I went up there and I saw my coach. I still have a coach after all these years. I went to see my coach as well. I saw him in person. I don't really do that. And put it out there, 46,000 impressions on a LinkedIn post with nothing really in it. I just said, look, I'm doing this. But the reason that people liked it was it's personal. It's about
Yeah,
me and my family and the way I see the world. That's why it took off. Whereas if you're trying to just be too business orientated, no one really cares. LinkedIn doesn't care, that's for sure. So I think we can use these online tools that we have now to just broadcast a little bit more about us because people
definitely.
build relationships with people, as you said earlier. They don't build them with job titles. It's about people, really.
And the best way to show that you're a human or that you're people is, as you say, showing the relationships you have outside of work, the mistakes you
Yeah,
make in your life, just that
yeah.
going out and having fun like everyone else is usually the best way to connect with people rather than, as you say.
And I think showing a little vulnerability, I know that's very popular now to be all vulnerable. I don't mean it. I'm a baby boomer, so I don't really see the world like that. But I think I made a big mistake and I refer to it a lot. I put the business first for too many years at the sacrifice of my family, and I deeply regret that. Deeply regret that. You shouldn't have regret. I have one, and that's it. And I talk about it a lot because I don't want people to make the same mistake that I made, really. So I think that it's a kind of a vulnerability, but in reality, it's just a, hey, look, I did this. It really hurts now. If I were you, I wouldn't do it. It's up to you, but I really wouldn't do that. You don't need to. So I think there's elements of that as well.
Amazing. Mike, just before we drop off, one final question for you. To any founders who are listening and are just at the start of their journey, what piece of advice could you leave them with moving forward?
Okay, be obsessed with quality, obsessed with excellence. The thing that you do, the actual thing, whatever that might be, you need to be able to measure how good it is and constantly be making it better. If you look at any product, any brand, anything that's well known from Mercedes, BMW, Apple, or whatever, they're obsessed with the product. Because if you've got a strong product, it sells itself. If you put a sales engine around it and you put a client care engine around it, oh man, you're going to do really well. But too many people think average is good enough, and it isn't. You have to be obsessed with it. And the secret to doing that is constantly reaching out to your clients and giving them permission, an obligation to criticize you, which unfortunately, most outreach surveys don't do. In fact, I just very quickly, I know we've got to go now, but I'll tell you this. We bought a new car recently, and the lady that sold it to me said, oh, by the way, you'll get a survey just so that you know if you score less than 9 on anything, that's a fail for me personally. So what am I going to do? I'm going to score it at 9. That is pointless. It's
Yeah.
absolutely pointless. You must give people permission and obligation to criticize you. That's where excellence comes from, and that's what builds great businesses.
Love it. And with that is a wrap on another inspiring episode of Founders Future. Thank you so much, Mike, for joining me today and sharing your journey and insight with us. Should people want to reach out and work with you and connect, where can they find you and how can they do so?
LinkedIn, we run a twice monthly live stream that goes out. We run webinars, we have a newsletter, we have an email blog that goes out every week. There's plenty of free stuff that people can get from us. So LinkedIn is the best place.
Amazing. And that's Mike Ames, no?
It is Mike Ames, Ames. Yeah, you can't miss me.
No, you can't. You got to aim for him straight out. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe to Founders Future by wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or agency owner, and you're really looking to scale your business and you want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to hop on a call with one of our team and discover how we were able to go from 0 to 30 million in less than 3 years. And until then, keep climbing, and we will see you on the next one.